Yeah, no, it's good, it's good. Oh hey, didn't see you there. Welcome back to another video. Today is the best video in the whole entire world, and that's because in this video, this car will be finished and ready to drift, which is freaking awesome, and we're gonna get straight into it right now. We have just gotten the drive shaft back from the drive shaft shop, which is rad. Back half Nissan Skyline R31, the rest of it is E36 BMW, and right now we're going to go ahead and put it in and see if these back wheels will spin under their own power with this M50 engine in this 2020 Supra. Legit, free, and it works. There's a sign on it just in case anyone wants to come take this piece of junk out of my driveway. Just kidding. Right now let's put this drive shaft in. You. Booyah, the drive shaft's in. That is another massive milestone ticked off the list, so actually we can literally tick it off the list. Drive shaft, yes. Another thing we've gone ahead and done, so I've put the new drive belt on. Now of course we've deleted the power steering, so this is a different drive belt. I'll put the part number down here right now on the screen and also in the description, but it's 6PK1420, and that is the shorter drive belt that you use to delete the power steering if that's something that you guys would ever want to do. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and put water in the car because the coolant system is all done, ready to go, which is freaking awesome. This thing really is so close to being finished. So we'll go ahead and chuck the water in, and then we'll start the car and run it through some gears and see if the wheels turn and there's no kind of crazy noises or anything like that happening. So yeah, let's get it done. Alrighty, so we'll throw it in gear, just chuck it straight into second. Yee-hoo! Awesome! Rear wheels are spinning. Alrighty, so the drive shaft's in, and that is just another thing that we've ticked off the list, which is absolutely epic. The coolant system seems to be holding water perfectly fine. It's starting to warm up already, which is nice. Radiator's doing its thing. Obviously there's no thermo on here at the moment, so I will be chucking one of those on. Everything is working currently as it should. So next up, what we need to do is the brake lines and the clutch line. That includes the hydraulic handbrake as well. And then the whole underside of the car is done and we can put it on the ground. We're going to call it a night right now. Hope you guys are enjoying this build as much as I am. I'm fucking stoked. See you in the morning. You. And just like that, we are back. It's another evening. We're smashing out work on the car. I've already gone ahead and chucked the throttle cable in. So I went to the wreckers today and I grabbed a throttle cable out of a 328i E36 and I made it fit this car. It was super easy. Literally the circle and the firewall down here. I don't know if you guys can see it, where the throttle cable goes through, there's like a clip on it, and it literally clipped into the circle perfectly through the T18 firewall, which is pretty rad, and then it just clipped straight onto the stock accelerator pedal, and that is it. The accelerator is done, it works, so that's awesome. I just P-clipped it to the firewall here, and I'll do this all nicely later on. There's just touch-ups though that we need to do, but obviously there's no point doing the touch-ups until the car is completely good to go. So now I am making the clutch line, the hard line that goes from the clutch master cylinder all the way down to our gearbox, which is the slave cylinder. I've already made and fitted the first fitting right down here. That goes into our clutch master cylinder. It's literally just a brake line that's flared and got these little fittings that I went to the brake shop and I told them what type of car I had, and we worked out that these are the fittings that I needed. So I bought 3 meters of brake line as well. So we're making a clutch hardline. So right now I'm using this pipe cutter. I have this cheap flaring kit that I got off eBay. It's got all the tools that I need to flare brake lines and install them. I got this because I needed it for my hydraulic handbrake, but it's been super handy. They're really cheap on eBay. They're like $30 Australian. So now we're going to go ahead. I've measured it up. We're going to chop this off here, put a fitting on there, and then screw it into our fitting down here, and then we can put some clutch fluid in and see if we can bleed up the clutch, which will be another massive milestone that we're past. And then we have to make brake lines for the rear of the car, which is pretty easy. So there's already a line going all the way down the middle of the car to the back, and then we need to tee it off to each of the brake calipers on the R31 diff. And then we also need to install properly our hydraulic handbrake. So I've got the fittings for that also, and we're gonna install the lines for that tee into the stock line, because it's going to be an inline handbrake. That's how I like them. And then the car will be ready to go on the ground, which is phenomenal. So yeah, we'll get to work on this clutch line. Alrighty, so our clutch line is all screwed in. Now it's time to see whether it actually holds liquid. So we're going to chuck some liquid in the master cylinder reservoir right here, and then we'll see if we have any leaks on the ground. Fingers crossed we don't, because that would be the worst. After getting all of the lines hooked up, I've battled for about an hour with the clutch master cylinder. Seems like it's blocked. It's not letting fluid get through the lines. I guess this is to be expected with a car that is so old and been sitting for so long. Some parts just aren't going to work, and the clutch master cylinder is that part. So I'm going to order another one. Luckily they sell them on eBay. Should get here easily in time. It's not very hard to change, which is pretty lucky. So I'll move on. I'm going to start doing other things because I can't be wasting time. So next we're going to run the fuel return hose. I've already run the fuel send hose, which is this one here. Get all that wiring out of the way. So we're going to run the fuel return hose now, which comes down to this line. This line's usually a vent line, but we're going to use it for our fuel return line, and then we just drill a couple of holes in our fuel cap to vent any pressure, and voila, we are sorted for our fuel lines, which is rad, and that way we can stop using our fuel bucket as a return for now. So and that is the fuel lines all done, which is good. I needed a bit of a win tonight after the clutch master cylinder failing, so it's nice to have those done. Alrighty, so I lied to you guys. I hit up the local auto store. It turns out that they had a master cylinder in stock, which is unbelievable because I thought it was going to be super hard to find a master cylinder for a T18 Corolla, but it turns out it's not. These are the same as an A86 master cylinder, some of the Hilux master cylinders, so I'm very stoked about that. But I think we're going to run into a problem here while swapping it over, because there's not much room between the cylinder and the engine, and as you can see, you have to pull it out quite considerably to get it away from the firewall. So it looks like we might have to just undo the engine mounts, jack the engine up and pull it forward, or something. Maybe just jacking the engine up will do the job, just so we can get it past where we need it here. So hopefully not too big of an issue, but we are about to find out. So upon further inspection, I think I'm just going to have to take the valve cover off to get the master cylinder out. It's moving, but it's in the valve cover, so I reckon if I take that off, I can get it out, which is not so bad. At least I don't have to take the whole engine out. Alrighty, the valve cover's off. This engine is just stupidly clean on the inside. It's crazy. Anyway, now we should just be able to pull this bad boy out. Look at that. Yeehaw! And you can kind of see why it wasn't working. There's so much rust on it everywhere. So, yep, we're going to go chuck the new one in now. Yeehaw! Alrighty, the clutch master cylinder's in, and we have bled it up, and it works perfectly thanks to Tara. I got the beautiful Tara Rominen to come in and help me out with bleeding it. High five. Amazing. So yeah, we now have a clutch. Finally fixed the frickin' problem. It's been one a little bit of a drama, to be honest, and it's taken up one of my nights working on this car, but now we can move forward, which is cool.
It's not usually me that does the pumping.
Oh wow, oh my god. That's enough, you can go now, bye.
Okay, bye.
Let's move on to the next job, rear brake lines, bleed the brakes. Oh, we're getting so close. Cool, so this is our T-piece here. That's where our brake line is, so we're just going to come up over the diff, and we'll P-clip the brake line up so that it never hits, and then straight into our T-piece. Alrighty, so the brakes are officially done. As you can see, running to the rear brake lines, we've got P-clips holding the new brake line to the chassis, and then of course the rubber line going to the caliper on the diff, so that when the diff moves up and down, obviously the rubber line is there for the movement, and that's it. It's all teed into, so it runs up here and is teed into the stock brake line via this T-point that goes back through this line to the master cylinder. Super easy. And then we'll just put a riv nut through here that'll hold this T-piece to the chassis, just to make sure that it doesn't move around, loosen up and all that kind of stuff. So beautiful. I run my handbrakes in line, which means that they tee into the stock line that we have running from the master cylinder down to the rear brakes. It's really not that hard. So I've already begun the process. As you can see, I've got a line here running through the gearbox tunnel down to underneath the car. Now, what I've done here, it's probably hard to see on camera, but I've drilled a hole through the gearbox tunnel, a nice big hole, and then I've got rubber hose that I've pushed through the hole so that when we've got the lines running through, they don't rub against the cut that we've made on the gearbox tunnel and rub through the brake line, and then brake fluid goes everywhere and our hydro handbrake didn't work anymore. So that just stops it from rubbing. Nice wee trick. So we get both of our lines, push them both through the hosing that we've done, just like that, and we leave enough here that we can bend these nicely into our fittings that we have here. So we have these fittings, these will slide over the brake line, then we'll flare it, so these slide over, then you flare it, and then you bend it around nicely with a bender that I have to make them all look pretty, and then it'll go straight into this master cylinder that we have here. Now, I've made a mistake with installing these many times before. The front fitting here goes to the back, and the back fitting here goes to the front. And if you don't do that the right way around, the handbrake won't work and you'll stuff your brakes up as well. I'm using an eBay hydro handbrake that I bought, but I made my own handle here, so it's a nice bit of pipe. It's got a rod welded here for strength as well. And then a BMX handle up here just to make it feel and look good. Definitely looks the part, and then I sprayed it gloss black. Yeah, so right now we're going to go ahead, flare these off and put these fittings on, bend these around nicely, and then we'll go ahead and go under the car, and I'll show you guys how to tee into the stock line. First line is done. Got a wee kink here, but nothing crazy. Looks good. Gonna go ahead, do the second line. And there we have it. The hydro handbrake is plumbed in here up top. Now we'll jump underneath and we'll plumb it in down there, and then we'll chuck some brake fluid in. I'll bleed all of the brakes, and that should be us finished with the brakes and pretty much the whole car, other than welding the diff. Actually, we need to weld the diff. I am knackered, but this thing is freaking awesome. By the way, I found some roof racks that we're going to put on it. They're off my old Nissan Navara, so we're going to chuck these on as well, just to make it look, you know, a little bit more old school JDM spec. Alrighty, so we're under the car. This is our stock brake line that goes back to the diff down here, and I have cut it obviously because we're going to be teeing into it. And then these are our two lines that have come down from the hydraulic handbrake. So this one is going to connect to this one, so down to the back, and this one is going to connect to this one that goes up to the front. And that's literally how you install the handbrake into the stock line. And that is it. All done. Both fittings finally done. No more flaring. Now we're going to chuck some brake fluid in and make sure that there's no leaks in any of the flares. Fingers crossed, because I do not want to be doing that anymore. I've had enough. Moment of truth. Brake fluid time. Come on, car. No leaks. Alright, pump the brakes a couple of times to get some fluid going through, and then I'll have to get the bleeder out and actually start bleeding the lines. Alrighty, so it looks like our brakes are working. So I've got the self bleeder on here because I don't have anyone to bleed the brakes with me. So basically what you want is this line to be clear of bubbles as you're pumping the brake, and this will fill up all the way to the top, and then you do it on all four corners, and technically that should be the brakes bled. As you would have seen just then in the little one-man bleeder, the reservoir slowly fills up as I'm pumping, and what you want to see again is a clear line with no bubbles in it, and that's where you know the brakes are bled and there's no air in the line. I've done it to all four corners now and it is complete. I had one little leak in one of the flares. I just had to tighten it up a little bit because I didn't tighten it up enough. Double checked all the rest of them, no leaks. So we are in an awesome spot. This car, I think its base is basically done, bar a couple little things like the thermo fan on the radiator and whatnot, but I think I can chuck the wheels on it right now and put it on the ground, and potentially we can take it for a wee drive. Obviously I need to put a driver's seat in it because otherwise we're not going to have a good time. But the hydro handbrake is all plumbed in and super tight, which means that it is doing its job. I'm just so pumped. This car is basically finished. Obviously just little loose ends to tidy up, need to put, you know what I mean, just need to put all the surrounds back on, seats back in and stuff like that. But ridiculous, it's been so much work getting this thing to where it is right now. Honestly, to be honest, I didn't think it was going to be this much work or this much effort to do this car, but that's cars for you. You take projects on being like, we'll get it done in you know, a month or whatever. This car, I think it's like 9 months later maybe. Freaking awesome. Alrighty, so the car is officially on the ground and done pretty much. This thing is basically finished, which is freaking rad. Hydro looks freaking awesome in there, everything looking great. So now I just need to piece together a couple of bits of the interior. Unfortunately, it is a little bit late for us to be taking this for a drive tonight. So what we'll do is we're gonna come back tomorrow morning, same video. I'll see you guys in the morning for the first drive of the T18. Yeah. Alrighty, today is the day that we take this thing for its first ever drive. And I'm so nervous, I can't even explain. Obviously, I've pulled it out of the garage, so I did start it up and back it out, and that felt great, so that's a good start. But quickly, before we go, I'm just going to chuck some brand new spark plugs in it, because God knows how old the spark plugs that are in it currently. And of course, we're going to chuck some fuel in it so that we don't get stranded anywhere. I'm so pumped. Alright, let's get these spark plugs in and we're gonna get going. Please cross your fingers for me sitting there in front of the screen, please. let's do this. Well, there you have it, the first test drive of the T18 on the road. It was somewhat successful. I'm noticing that the fuel pump seems to be dropping voltage when I rev the car out, so I don't know what that's about, but I think maybe I'll have to hardwire the fuel pump through a relay to power instead of running it the way that I'm running it at the moment, because it runs fine on idle, but when I rev it out it seems to drop off. But when it did pull properly, which it did a couple of times, my god, the thing actually flies. It's ridiculous. The power to weight ratio is obviously mental in this thing, which is awesome. So I'm super stoked that this, with how it's all come together. Teething issues and niggles are always to be expected when you build a car, especially with an engine that's not supposed to be in the same chassis. So overall, very stoked with the first test drive. It felt good. Here's a quick clip of me kicking the clutch around a roundabout and in a car that I'm not used to driving and running up the roundabout. Lesson learnt there, but I'm super stoked. Can't wait to drift this thing in 2 days time, this weekend at the summer Matsuri. Now it's supposed to be like 41 degrees, so it's going to be very hot. I think we're going to drift in the morning and we may take it easy in the afternoon, and then on the Sunday it's going to be a little bit cooler, but nonetheless we're going to get a bunch of driving footage. Really keen to get this thing dialed in. Yeah, I'm just super stoked. I hope you guys have enjoyed this build. It's finished. I don't really know what I'm going to do with it after the Matsuri, so if you guys have any ideas, guys, make sure that you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're at like 7.5k subscribers, which is awesome, but we can always do more. Follow me on Instagram at It's Mike Blake for all the behind the scenes stuff that's going to be going down on the weekend. I will be posting on my stories, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.